Kathy Wood, of course, who runs the ARC Innovation Fund, a series of funds geared to technology. They've been getting hammered, have lost a third of their value. One of them certainly did this year with the tech rout, certainly that really took hold in the middle of February. She's making back some of that money today. Those various funds up anywhere from 8 to 18%, thanks to some of her big holdings that include Apple and Alphabet and Microsoft and Amazon, all on a tear today. Let's get the read from Keith Fitz-Gerald, the Fitz-Gerald Group principal, Rebecca Walser, Walser Wealth Management. Rebecca, is the rally today what's real, or the huge sell-off yesterday for technology? What is it?
It's obviously, people are taking some gains from tech, and now we're going to have to see some real, true organic growth. Obviously, the new stimulus from Biden will be another sugar high for the market, and that will last us, I think, through second quarter. Although I think this volatility is something that is going to be here for a little bit because the Federal Reserve is trying to get that sweet spot between stimulus and not overstimulating, causing inflationary pressure, because we are starting to get some organically good news with businesses reopening, employment numbers, and all of those things.
You know, Intel and Apple are a big reason why, the Dow and technology in general are doing as well as they're doing, so they can giveth and taketh away at the same time, Keith. What do you make of that?
Well, we have a saying in our office, when in doubt, zoom out. The question you want to ask is not what's going to happen over the next couple months. What you want to do is ask what's going to happen over the next 5 years, 10 years. Both of those companies are going to be around, and they're going to do great things. So we actually were very active in going shopping.
So you were buying a lot of the beaten down technology names, all the obvious ones?
Yeah, because Apple, Microsoft, Palantir, these are all companies that are going to do very well in the next 5 to 10 years. It's not just about the recovery. It's about staying out and changing our economy to our way of thinking.
Yeah.
The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, put out a statement today, Rebecca, talking about the stimulus in the United States having a global impact. For one thing, they say it's going to be and help the U.S. economy recover twice as much as earlier expected, and it's going to have a spillover effect on the entire globe. And global markets were rebounding before ours on this notion. Do you buy that?
Well, considering how much is domestic versus foreign targeted, I actually do buy that, Neil. It's really interesting to see America be such a global stimulus factor, which is kind of the opposite of the previous administration in the last 4 years. So it's definitely a sea change. And obviously, if the world does better, America does better, we all do exist in this microcosm of the globe. But, I obviously want to see the U.S. market and the U.S. jobs come back and I think I am agreeing with Keith that yesterday was a buying opportunity on techs, not necessarily in a 12-month time frame, but definitely on a longer trajectory. And so we definitely want to see the organic reopening of this country, Neil. That's the one thing that's going to get us back. You've got to look at the GDP last year. 50% was supported from the stimulus or greater, and that's not sustainable. So we are excited about getting more stimulus temporarily to get these businesses back to work.
In the meantime, guys, this GameStop hearing is going on in the Senate Banking Committee, in which they're raising the issue. We got to do something. So politicians of both parties are itching to do something. We just don't know what. But clearly the tone seems to be, I'm going to pull a bite from that conference that's ongoing, that something has to be done. I want you to react to this.
Problem here for the stock market, which is supposed to be a place where a person can grow wealth by investing in companies that have good prospects. But when fast-moving, high-risk speculators dominate, we have a classic recipe for market disruptions. What we saw in January with GameStop and Robinhood is what we saw during the Great Recession, with Wall Street churning out subprime mortgage-backed securities.
All right, so what she's saying there, essentially, Keith, we're repeating errors of the past and not acting soon enough. I'm not sure what soon enough would be or the actions that she's contemplating, but what do you think?
Right idea, wrong attribution. I think the concept here is the use of the markets via social media for manipulation. There have always been high-speed traders in one form or another. Back in the 1920s and 30s, there were simply people that did things within the space of an hour. Now it's nanoseconds. So the idea really is, how do you control adverse speculation, meaning very deliberate manipulation. If it's going to be up and down, that's normal. Buying and selling happens all the time, and computerization is an inevitable accelerator of this process, just like it is in every other facet of our life. We need to enforce the existing laws.
You know, you always think in these situations, Rebecca, to harken back to the old Reagan line, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Not to disparage the government, but could it make a bad situation potentially even worse? I mean, some of this can be complicated stuff. So you're policing something, you're not quite sure what the something is, right?
Yeah, and I am really skeptical of any government regulation that's intended to help because it's usually got unintended consequences. We all know this. What's interesting about GameStop is GameStop was a public chat board that was a reaction to what they saw the hedge funds doing. So there's no talk about the hedge funds shorting, but there is talk about the fact that people use public chat boards to talk about non-public information and exercise their free rights as citizens, as investors. So, no, I'm not for this. I don't buy it. They need to look back at what's really happening. People can leverage chat boards to talk about stocks they're buying, and the government shouldn't be in that business of regulating that. No, thank you.
All right, I'll put you down as a maybe on that idea. Rebecca, thank you. Keith, thank you. We're going to talk to you a little bit later about this stimulus plan and those stimulus checks that will be out to Americans' hot little hands in the next few days. In the meantime, I want to talk